Stephen A. Smith on the Hunter Biden pardon. Number 26.
But to come out and to start talking about how it's been a witch hunt and the Department of Justice and others were after him, or whoever it was, and, you know, GOP rather was after him. Well, wait a minute. What have y'all been doing with Donald Trump all of these years? Now, you can make an argument about the legitimacy of the cases against Donald Trump compared to what wasn't legitimate, etc. That's not the point. The point is it was clearly politicized. You had folks on the left who were hell-bent on going after Donald Trump because they were determined to make sure that he couldn't run for re-election or that these elements would get in the way of him possibly winning re-election. And now we know why more than ever, because they weren't confident they would ever be able to beat him. He'd been a Republican nominee since 2016. He beat Hillary Clinton with the Electoral College vote. He wouldn't concede defeat in 2020, but he did receive over 74 million votes at that particular moment in time. And then you fast forward 4 years later, despite the 34 felony convictions, the 2 impeachments, the bevy of crimes that he had been accused of, the Republican voters out there, the conservative voters out there, and a lot of independents from various communities said, he's the guy we want, and I've said it on many, many occasions. It wasn't about him. Just like it wasn't about Biden in 2020, it was more against Trump. In this particular instance, it was an indictment against the Biden administration, what had been going on for the last 4 years, some of the things going on with the border, obviously inflation, of course crime in the streets, of course woke and cancel culture and all of that, it all played a role. And so for him to come out and to talk about that this was a witch hunt when clearly it could be argued that's exactly what you were doing to Donald Trump, what you assisted in doing, seems beyond hypocritical. And that was what disgusted me. It wasn't his decision. It wasn't him pardoning his son. It was the weak, pathetic explanation that he gave, which has most critics just shaking their heads and raising their eyebrows and saying, what nerve you have.
Not all critics. Jeffrey Toobin over at CNN is one of those who thinks that Hunter Biden was unfairly prosecuted. Number 44.
I think it was a mistake. It was a really important mistake. Look, the prosecution came down very hard on him, but it's important to remember that he was guilty of these 12 felonies. You know, 9 that he pleaded guilty to, 3 was convicted by a jury. Lots of people get leaned on by the federal government in this country. Lots of people plead guilty in difficult situations, are convicted, and they don't get pardons. This president in particular has been very stingy about pardons. He's only granted 25 other pardons when other presidents have granted substantially more. So the idea of singling out his son, I think, just sends a terrible message about who gets preferential treatment in this country.
In the scope of this...
You think? And don't forget the pass he got for the document possession. Had more documents in more places than Donald Trump. And the special prosecutor says, well, he's an elderly man with a poor memory. And unlike Trump, he did not have the power to declassify documents. Got a pass.